13 of the fantasy football season, and here's top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. Number one, who else would it be than Justin Tucker of the Ravens? So we know Tucker, he's good for a 50-plus yarder each and every week. This Raven team this season, their offense isn't as high-powered as it's been years past here, especially trading Hollywood Brown in the offseason definitely hurt their vertical game and opening up the field. But anyway, Justin Tucker, I know last week he missed a tough one at the end of the ball game that was just short from 67 yards, but right here I think he bounces back. This Raven team, obviously a better home team than they are on the road. And in this one, I think Tucker has a great ball game versus the Broncos that pretty much have quit this season here. So I got him at one. Number two, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So over the last few weeks, we've been seeing more 40 and 50-yarder opportunities here where the Bills, they're not punching in all their red zone drives here. So right now, this week here, I know it's a tough matchup with the Patriots. It's going to be windy weather. It's going to be freezing weather on Thursday night. And who the heck knows? It might even snow for all we know here. But anyway, Tyler Bass is a solid kicker. I'm still not going to be concerned with the weather. And this guy's on a high-powered offense still that at least is going to make 4 or 5 red zone trips weekly. So this week here, I got him at 2, especially the last couple weeks here where Tyler Bass has had over 30 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks. Number 3, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Butker, he was banged up early in the season. He came back a few weeks ago, wasn't getting the job done, missing extra points and chip shots. But the last 2 weeks here, he's wrote the ship as Butker with 28 fantasy points in the last 2 ball games. And right here in a potential shootout at the Cincinnati Bengals. And a big ball game here, especially in the standings, even though I know the Chiefs are up there and the Bengals are obviously 7-4 in the season. But the Bengals want this ball game. And this is going to be a shootout. And so far in their careers, Joe Burrow 2-0. Versus Patrick Mahomes in their career. So right here, I think Mahomes and this team, they're going to get in their red zone targets. They're going to get there, and they're going to get some opportunities for Butker. I don't know if he's going to score 14 fantasy points again, but he's definitely a kicker that's jumped back up the rankings over the last few weeks. Number 4, Evan McPherson, staying in the same game of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Money Mac last season was a great rookie season for him. And then the first 8-10 weeks of the season, a lot of struggles for him, especially that Monday Night Football game versus the Cleveland Browns, where he missed an extra point, missed a couple chip shots. But ever since the bye week a few weeks ago, he's come back and he's been laser focused and hitting bombs. Has been Money Mac, putting up double-digit fantasy points in the last 2 ball games. So this week here in a ball game where you know there's going to be a lot of scoring, where the kickers are going to get opportunities, and this Chief defense is bend but don't break type of unit as well in that red zone. I think Money Mac's going to get opportunities as McPherson and have a decent ball game. Number 5, Daniel Carlson of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Daniel Carlson, what a season it's been for him once again. Top 5 in fantasy points at the kicking position. And he was pretty much each and every week the first couple months of the season, double digits every week. This week here, a potential shootout AFC matchup with the Chargers and the Raiders here. And this Raider team, they've been putting up points, especially last week. 40 points scored in the 12th man at Seattle. So this week here, back home with the Raider team. Indoor game, which is always a plus, obviously, for a kicker. I got Carlson at 5, and anywhere from 8 to 12 fantasy points is definitely a possibility. Number 6, Nick Folk of the New England Patriots. I know Folk, he was on a run with 21 and 17 fantasy points. And a few weeks ago versus the New York Jets, he missed a couple chip shots and the win was bad. And then last week, he bounced back in the indoor game on Thanksgiving at the Minnesota Vikings. So this week here, I know it's going to be bad weather once again, but it don't bother me. Nick Folk's been with the Patriots many seasons now, and he's used to the weather. It was just a wet, rainy day versus the New York Jets, and a little fluky as well. So this week here in a game where you know they're going to have to put up points, even though I could see this being a defensive battle with the Patriots and the Bills. I think Nick Folk has a decent ball game, and I got him at 6. Number 7, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks. So Myers this season, a great year with 9 games at least with double-digit fantasy points. And this week here, the Seattle team goes to the Los Angeles Rams. This Ram team pretty much finished this season with all the injuries on offense. Aaron Donald's going to be out in this one. And pretty much Geno Smith, I think he could go up and down the field and get his team in field goal position a decent amount of times in this game. So Jason Myers, his floor has pretty much been 7 fantasy points. So this week here at the Rams, I think he at least hits the 7 mark, and at least he could hit double digits. I don't think he's out of the realm of possibility as well. So this week here, with him on a good offense and a defense that pretty much hasn't stopped anyone, even though coming into the season, I thought they'd be one of the best units. I got Myers at 7. Number 8, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Dicker, one of the top pickups this week on the wire at the kicking position. And he's a guy over the last few weeks that's taken the league by storm. He hasn't missed a field goal. He's on a pretty high-powered offense. Hopkins is out for a while on injured reserve. And I think Dicker has a good ball game. Another indoor game here at the Raiders. Potential shootout between these two teams because their defenses, let's be honest, really don't stop anyone. So this week here, I think Cameron Dicker, once again, 7 fantasy points is his floor with a potential of going to 12 or more in this one. Number 9, Ryan Succop of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this Buck team, it's just been a down season here. Everyone thought Tom Brady, after he retired for a month, coming back, this team will be a top Super Bowl contender. But obviously that hasn't been the case here, with a lot of problems on offense, not moving the football well, the running game not being that great as well. But Succop has still been a pretty decent fantasy kicker, within the top 10 this season in fantasy points. So this week here in a ball game where this same team, for whatever reason, no matter who they've had over the last few seasons, they've been stopping this Buck offense since Tom Brady's been there. And this week here, I think they're going to have to settle for some field goals. And I think Succop has a decent ball game. And number 9, number 10, Graham Gano of the New York Giants. So Graham Gano, he's a guy not getting a lot of respect in fantasy circles, in my opinion. And this Giant offense, they don't score a lot of touchdowns. We know they got a lack of weapons on the passing game besides Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. And Slayton, I know, he stepped up the last few weeks, but no one else really doing anything. But anyway, Graham Gano, he's got 7 double-digit fantasy games this season at the kicking position. In this ball game, I know it's going to be a windy one, most likely MetLife Stadium here versus the Washington Commanders. But this Commander defense is bend don't break, and I could see this ball game between both these teams, mid-teens, low 20s, where Graham Gano is going to get a few opportunities. So this week here, I think he easily could be a top 10 kicker in fantasy points. So I got him at 10. Number 11, Young Hoku of the Atlanta Falcons. So last week I left him off the list, and Young Hoku put in a good ball game. So this week here, this Pittsburgh Steelers defense pretty solid. But Young Hoku, he's a start each and every week when he's at home with this Falcon team. He owns that dome over there. He knows how it's going to play out. And he's a guy that has that long boot. And obviously with no wind or weather issues here, he's going to find the uprights as Young Hoku. It's just about him getting opportunity with a pretty poor offense over there in Atlanta. So this week here, in a grinded out type of ball game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, where we could see both kickers have decent ball games, I got Cool with 11, and the 12th and final kicker I'm ranking this week's Robbie Gould of the San Francisco 49ers. So Robbie Gould, I know the fantasy points haven't been that high, but he's on a high-powered offense over there in San Francisco. It seems like his floor's only been 7 fantasy points at worst here for Robbie Gould. And this week here versus Miami, we know they got to put up points, and we know this defense in Miami this Miami defense can make a few stops here where they're gonna have to settle. So I think Robbie Gould could crack the top 12 this week with at least 7 fantasy points. So that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking here for week 13 of the fantasy football season.